Welcome back. You're watching the Global Dialogue, and we're talking about where Gavi, the Global Vaccine Alliance, is headed over the next 25 years. You know, you talked about India being the hub and an incubator of sorts as far as innovation is concerned, especially with the work that's happening here with companies like Serum, etc., companies that you've been closely associated with through Gavi. What do you believe stands out from an affordable, accessible, frugal innovation perspective?
Look, what stands out is that we are operating in a very, let's say, competitive market all over the world. And for some reason, Gavi, it was even before I joined, so I can say that with complete independence, Gavi has decided that many or most of its procurement was done in India because, of course, we follow the highest standards in terms of quality. We don't compromise on quality. We only buy vaccines that have been previously certified by the WHO and with the highest standards. And India has been able to produce at scale those vaccines with quality and with a price that is convenient. Because afterwards what we do is that we give those vaccines, or we mostly give to the vulnerable countries of the world. Others, they also give a contribution. So that's evidence that India has been able to do it, because if not, we will not be able to procure so many of our vaccines. And it's a huge number of vaccines done here in this country.
You know, speaking about future priorities as far as Gavi is concerned and the impact that you hope to make, what will be the areas that you intend to prioritize? Malaria, I would imagine, will continue to be right up there on the table as one of the key focus areas for you. India is now going to be playing a part through Serum as far as the malaria vaccine is concerned. You know, line up for me the areas that you would like to prioritize as you look ahead.
First of all, we have to keep the good work done. So the so-called routine immunization. We have this set of diseases that from polio to measles that it's already become a routine. We have to vaccinate the children all over the world. Besides that, in terms of new priorities, you highlighted one precisely, so malaria. It's amazing the demand, the interest there is. I've been speaking, for instance, with many African leaders, presidents of, and they were asking me, when can we have that vaccine? How can we do so? Even if it's still relatively soon to measure all the impact, there is a huge interest because it's, in many countries in Africa, the #1 cause of death. So it's amazing. So that's a priority. Another priority I already mentioned, it's HPV for girls, for children, but specifically for girls. That's another priority. And of course, we are following with our friends from other organizations some new vaccines and developments in some areas. For instance, it's important impact of climate change. You know, some people are still skeptical about it, but they are wrong. In fact, we see now that for dengue is that's quite clear now that we have diseases that are coming up and viruses that are now being more, let's say, supported by this climate change. Because so we are also looking at those new developments and prepare for other needs that may arise. Another important, it's not specifically for a vaccine, but it's a priority for our action, is what we call vaccine preparedness. So to be sure that when the next pandemic comes, because sooner or later there will be new pandemics, that we are equipped. And how can we be? If we have the funds already in reserve for a pandemic, we can immediately start procuring vaccines for the poorest countries in the world. This is very important because last time, as you know, even if there was progress compared to other situations, when COVID-19 came, the reality is that was a problem of inequity. Because the richest countries, they were able to buy, sometimes they bought 5 times more vaccines than they needed, while others, they could not, they don't have the money. So it took some time for us to be able to mobilize those resources. Now, with a pandemic fund, but also with some instruments inside Gavi, we believe we can be ready for next time. And once again, this is a matter not only of justice, of solidarity, a moral matter, and I believe this is important, to reaffirm some values, moral values. So inequity is not good, so we need to try to promote solidarity. But it is also a matter of self-interest, including of the developed countries, because it's about health security.
Yeah.
When a rich country is investing in vaccines for the so-called developing world or the global south, it's investing also for their own health security. Now, a lot, as you know, people are speaking in the world about wars. Wars, and people say we have to invest more in security. That's a good example. Let's invest in health security. That's also part of security. No, I mean it now. I mean it. It's a matter of security.
No, I totally agree with you, by the way. But my question to you, and I ask you this as you said, as a former politician, that you're fiscally constrained and your attention spans are shorter, and at this point in time it seems like the pandemic has been put on the back burner, and trade wars and inflation and defense spending are on the table as key priorities.
But that's why if they politicians give so much importance to the issues of security, they should give also part of their attention to health security, because human security in general, it's a matter. And as you know, the virus does not respect border. The next time we have a huge pandemic, we cannot say, okay, the virus stays there. It can, as we have seen during COVID-19, it was all over the world. North, south, east and west, rich, poor, all countries were affected, as you know. So it's a matter of security. But also, I think the role of all of us, and I'm speaking to you, and hope to reach many people here in India, our goal is not just to criticize the politicians, but also to call their attention to the goal of the society. It's not the politicians at the end of the day, and as you said, I've been a politician for many decades of my life.
Not just a politician, a former Prime Minister.
A former Prime Minister and President of the European Commission.
Yes.
And they are attentive to what people think. If the society conveys to them, look, this is a matter, this is a serious matter, you should think about it. I think it matters. My experience is that it matters. For instance, what you, if I may say, of course, we respect the independence of the media, but the attention the media can give to these matters is critically important, because politicians say, no, this matter is important. And namely in democracies, they have to care about what the majority of people think. So yes, I believe that we have a great case and we can help the politicians take the right decisions.
Well, speaking of politicians taking the right decisions, I wanted to get you to wear your former European Commission hat and talk to me about how you see the world today. We're in the midst of a global reset on account of what's going on in the US. What is your chief concern as you look at the many events that have already taken place in less than a month in office? I'm
concerned, of course. I'm in favor of stability. I'm in favor of peace. I'm in favor of the world going together, and precisely I've embraced this mission. It's something I've been doing pro bono since 2020, because I believe that besides our national interests, and of course we love our countries, but there is a difference between patriotism and nationalism. Patriotism is to love what belongs to us, to our community. But nationalism in the sense of aggressiveness is the hate of others. I don't like that. We have to have a patriotism that is open to others. We have to understand that we are, of course, proud Indians or Portuguese or French or German or American or Chinese or Russian. It's perfectly legitimate to love our country, but at the same time not to hate the others, to understand the others. I think I have a very deep commitment to this idea. And precisely on the field of immunization, that's a good example where you can show that compassion for others, and that has an important meaning. So in this world now, what I see, there is a push for more nationalism, for more protectionism, for more isolationism, and I don't like that, I have to say, honestly. But as chairman of Gavi, I have no ideology except this one. So, of course, I have my own political views, and that's quite clear. Having said that, as chairman of the board of Gavi, my goal is to put the world together in this field. And I have to work and respect countries from different regimes, different ideologies, to try to focus on the mission. The mission is save the lives of children, namely of the most vulnerable countries. This is our mission. Afterwards, there are different regimes. Of course, some I may like more, some I may like less, but that's not my goal in this role. But to be honest, to answer your question, yes, I'm concerned. And precisely because my argument is precisely because I see some decoupling going on globally, I think it is important for mankind to show, no, at least in some areas, we are able to continue to work. Multilateralism makes sense. And this is not an idealistic thing. No, it's very realistic, because when it finds to fight a pandemic, we cannot close off. We cannot say your side of the boat is sinking. We are all sinking if we don't respond to the issue. So I think it makes sense. And so my goal, precisely because the world is becoming more challenging, I believe more cooperation in some fields like this one, where we have a clear global public good, public health, saving lives of children, it makes sense, and it should be not only kept but also reinforced.
So let me end by asking you, Mr. Barroso, is it mission impossible to get leaders to come together as you co-host that meeting with the EU in Brussels later in 2025?
No, I think it's one of the roles of politics is to make possible what it is necessary, and this is necessary. I would say even it's indispensable. So the goal of a real politician is to make it happen.
Well, we do wish you the very best of luck, and we do hope that you do indeed make it happen and raise the kind of money that you require to ensure that Gavi continues to do the work that it has been doing over the last 25 years. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing more of you back here in India. Thank you very much for joining us. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Global Dialogue. From all of us here on the team for now, goodbye, and many thanks for watching.